This is the moment of truth. Car's all put back together again. I'm gonna start the car. Sounds a little nasty. It's cold today. We have the Worthen going, and we're going to try and get this other head on. Snugged up all the bolts, let that cure last night, and we're gonna put that in the car, and hopefully it goes as well as the other side did. New gasket. All right. Woohoo! Feels so good to be back outside.
Feels so good to be back here at the Dexter Lake Club.
So last time we were all here, what we had was the installation of the passenger side head and header. And what I did was I created a little tab down here to actually catch on to the bracket for the dipstick tube. And that took most of the afternoon last week, as you can see, because the thickness of the flange on the header is not as thick as the flange on the manifold. As you can see, it's fairly thick, and the header is so you couldn't catch the dipstick tube onto that. So we did a lot of that last time, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put down some bolts, and we're going to torque the heads. We're going to start with 25 foot-pounds in this pattern again. .25 foot-pounds. That dipstick tube is going to be the death of me. If anybody knows how to relocate that, please. Leave me a link. I'll relocate that in a half a second. Ten. Now 40 foot-pounds. The same pattern. And then all the bolts need to be turned 90 degrees. So I don't have a angle gauge, but if you see, so from here to here is about 90 degrees. Check. I'll take 2 bites out of this, I think. Let's make sure the other ones stay at 25. We did. So I'm not going to show you all the struggle I've had with this, the rocker arm assembly, although some viewers think that's entertaining, watching me struggle. But there'll be plenty of that. So this is tricky to get the push rod up underneath the rocker arm that goes on top of the valve spring. It's tricky because they're all in different, the push rods are at different, what am I trying to say? The push rods are at different heights because of where the engine is in regards to top dead center. So I think I have all these in place. I'm worried about the bottom end of this on top of what sits on top of the cam. So we'll get the bottom one on. This is the exhaust rocker arm assembly. Everybody sing along now.
With a rocker arm assembly, assembly, assembly. With a rocker arm assembly, we don't like dirt.
We don't like dirt, no. So you can tell, I just found this out actually, that the intake and exhaust are, because there's an eye here on the intake part, and there's not an indication on the exhaust. So that's how you know you have the right one. So for your entertainment, this is me struggling to get the push rods in place. This could take a while. Actually, I think I got it. For some reason, that was a lot easier. Of course, I've already put, this will be the fourth rocker arm assembly I've put on, so you would think it would get easier. Even after all this work, I'm still convinced that this was an easier path to get the manifolds off of these heads, just because I've watched a lot of videos from a lot of guys laying on their back and trying to do that job, or up on a lift with various extensions and swivels and adjustable head ratchets and cutting their hands up and all that kind of stuff, all that struggle. But yeah. My fear was breaking one of the manifold studs in the head and not being able to get at it and eventually have to take off the head anyway. So these get torqued at 195 foot-pounds, inch-pounds, 195 inch-pounds. And if a mechanic is actually watching this, he's cringing. I'm sure if an engine builder is watching this, he is cringing. So this might not be the last time this engine gets taken apart. But let's hope it is. And that's how that goes. So we have the valve covers back on, and the coils, and these aren't numbered by cylinder. It was only numbered over here 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, just so I put them on back on the proper side. Did get the wires back onto the alternator, and this wire snaked back down behind the alternator. This one right here, which was a trick. And I did replace this harness for the MSD. That was a lot of money, 200 and something bucks. But I figured while I'm there, I'll replace it. And I've been replacing the gaskets as I go. There's a new gasket here, there's a new gasket here. This is the intake. Just replaced all the gaskets there, and I'm going to get that onto the car next. Everything's all buttoned up. All the wiring harness is back in place. The fuel line is snapped back into its, where it goes. This right here. Back in there. Do you see it? There you go. And so a tip. This is the EGR canister, and that gets bolted to the front of this head. And I do recall that I took the head out with this on the front, and what I should have done is put this back on before I put the head in, because those bolts that hold it on the front are difficult to get at. I know you like to see me struggle, but this time you didn't get the satisfaction. Maybe next time. You know who you are. You know. So everything's all buttoned up. I think we're going to get underneath the car now and put the rest of the exhaust on and the O2 sensors before we put power back to the car. I'm wondering what's going to happen with the computer now that the wiring harness has been disconnected for such a long time. The battery's been disconnected for quite a while. I've also disconnected the shifter on the column because I'm converting it to the floor shifter, so the wiring is pulled out of that too. Stay tuned. These are the mid pipes with catalytic converters, and it's a flange here that goes onto the headers. So underneath the car here are these flanges, and they came with studs, and also O2 sensor extensions to get the wires back up in the engine bay. That one you can see a little bit better. Extensions. There's also extensions to get to this one here, which is the rear. And, oh, exhaust. So let's see if we can get these mid pipes in place. Okay, got the mid pipe in. This is from Legato Performance onto the, this is actually the X pipe onto the mid pipes. I had the mid pipes backwards. See, now you can read the BBK. BBK. That means that goes on the driver's side, and therefore the O2 sensors fit beneath the transmission cross member. So just took me a minute to figure that one out, but they're in position, just loosely in position right now. So we'll see if we can get the tailpipes in. That's the whole thing, front to back. The exhaust tips and tailpipes, exhaust into the X pipe, up into the mid pipes, and into the headers. Pretty good installation. This is the moment of truth. Car's all put back together again. I'm gonna start the car. I'm not gonna let it run very long. I'm gonna start it, see if it starts, then shut it off. Sounds a little nasty. Here's the problem. What I had done was I installed these two push rods incorrectly.
Ugh, idiot.
I don't know if I can get it there. That push rod is not in the bore where the lifter lives.
Freaking idiot.
Same with this one right here. I don't know if you can see that any better. Yes, maybe a little bit. You can see the bore. The push rod isn't in it. There, see? Push rod's not in the bore, it's on top of it. So I have valves that are open all the time. So we're going to fix that. I'm going to fix that. My fault.
Nobody's fault but mine.
And then hopefully, fingers crossed, that I get compression, and then I can start this bad boy up. All right, give it a little bit. There you go. All right, that is stock exhaust on a 2008 Charger. Okay, so we had the before, and now we're going to have the after. Okay, lovely assistant, let's fire it up. Impressive. Nice.